Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have with the bulletin. 48-hour curfew imposed in Southborough community following weekend shooting spree. St. James councillors call for more to be done to protect the nation's children. And later in sports, West Indies faced England on fourth day of first test in Antigua. I'm Krista Campbell and here are the details. Southborough in St. Catherine is now under curfew following a series of shooting over the weekend. The police say the curfew was imposed to restore calm in the area. Herman Green has that story.
There's a strong police presence in a section of Southborough in Portmore, St. Catherine, where there has been a flare-up of violence. Superintendent in charge of operations for the St. Catherine South Police Division, Hopeton Nicholson, says the curfew is to restore calm in the area.
This curfew became necessary based on a number of shooting incidents which have been occurring in the Southborough community, where a number of persons have been shot, and there have been counter-reprisal and counter-reprisal shooting incidents across the Southborough community.
The police have been keeping a close watch on the community after a resident was shot and injured during an attack on Laurel Path on Saturday night. The gunmen also fired shots on 9 houses in the area. Superintendent Nicholson says criminal migration remains a constant challenge for the lawmen in the South St. Catherine community.
I will hasten to say that majority of the citizens in the Southborough community are decent, law-abiding citizens. However, there are some persons who will continue to create mayhem in the community, and some of these persons are residing outside of the community. So this curfew is to restore calm, to maintain law and order.
Now, the curfew runs north along Brayton Parkway from the intersection of Newland Road to Germain Road, east along Germain Road from Brayton Parkway to the southern boundary, south along an imaginary line from Germain Road to Newland Road, and west along Newland Road to Brayton Parkway. It's expected to remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Saturday. Herman Green.
Another call this afternoon for more to be done to protect the nation's children. Counsel for the Montego Bay Southeast Division, Arthur Lynch, made the call at Thursday's sitting of the St. James Municipal Corporation. He said it is heartrending that criminals have now turned the guns on teens and minors. His call follows the gruesome murder of 11-year-old Peter Gay Cook and her 19-year-old twin brothers Javon and Giovanni Stewart in Irving, St. James on Wednesday night, as well as the January 13 death of 9-year-old Gabriel King, who was found in a car with his throat slashed in Fairfield Estate, St. James.
Being a father of teenage daughters myself, I am somewhat worried, right? I am now calling upon the CDA, the Child Advocate of Jamaica, to reach out and try to find out what is actually taking place with these killings that are taking place. The police have not yet even give us a lead or to say that yes, they have caught the perpetrators of even the 9-year-old that the incident that took place then and there.
He lamented that criminals are getting more brazen and it's time for citizens to act.
They are not aliens from another place. They are from among us. They grow with us. They grow among us. So if you know them, talk to the police, give them the information so that their actions can be shut down.
The College of Agriculture, Science and Education case in Portland says it will put measures in place to address squatting and improve security on its campus. The announcement follows the abduction and assault of a female student on the property yesterday. Sandy Williams has the details.
Thursday morning, students at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education case staged a protest at the campus gate about security concerns. Their outcry followed the abduction and assault of a female student on the school's property. The student was on her way to the school's farm about 5 o'clock when a man grabbed and threatened to kill her. A search team later found her in bushes, but her abductor escaped. President of case Dr. Derek Deslandes says the abductor seems to be familiar with the campus.
The particular situation is troubling because it really occurred on the main road just above the administrative complex. So it is very concerning for us because on any given day, hundreds of staff members, male and female, traverse this thoroughfare. They walk most of the time. So we recognize that it is an incident that could affect any one of us.
He admits there are some people living on the property who do not have permission to occupy the lands. Dr. Deslandes says measures will be put in place to address the squatting.
We are now working to try to move the persons on the west side to the east side and to simply lock it. So in other words, we are prepared to give up a part of the property to allow for those persons to be resettled. So in other words, resettle both the east and the west in the same community and provide them with proper titles, but then close off the campus from that side. So it immediately solves the problem of the movement from east to west and provides a greater level of security in terms of where we are currently.
He's hoping that the squatters can be removed from the property before the end of the year. In the meantime, Dr. Deslandes says the school has taken steps to beef up security on the campus.
We have already given marksmen the go-ahead to expand their presence and have worked out where those additional persons will be. We've adjusted our security from different places to put more resources in the main areas, the thoroughfare areas students traverse. So we believe and we hope that the enhanced measures that we have taken, the students will see and over time will feel again comfortable to move about.
Sandy Williams.
To news out of Parliament now, the opposition is urging the government to delay the sixth form pathway program and focus on learning loss resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson was speaking in Parliament on Thursday as he made his contribution to the budget debate. Andrea Chisholm has that story.
Preliminary data from the Education Ministry show about 10,000 students who were missing from school since the COVID-19 pandemic will need extra attention to get back on track. It's an uphill task for teachers who recently resumed full face-to-face classes, as about 120,000 students were unable to join online classes. To help fix the problem, $250 million was budgeted for remedial activities. Julian Robinson has taken note.
Apart from the monetary resources, I don't believe we have the managerial capacity to implement a remedial program while launching a sixth form program. So I'm going to propose, Minister, that we postpone the implementation of the sixth form program and that we focus all our energies on addressing the issue of the learning loss which currently exists.
The opposition spokesman on finance adds that the justification for the sixth form pathway program is weak.
I question why spend scarce resources to extend high school life by 2 years, when for the first 5 years, we're only producing about 50% of the students with literate, numerate, and marketable skills.
Mr. Robinson is therefore urging the government to implement recommendations from the report of the Education Transformation Commission chaired by Professor Orlando Pattison. He is suggesting the establishment of a secretariat to oversee the process.
And let me be clear, I'm not making a political point here, because this has existed over a long period of time. But we have to deal with it now. Because we can't grow an economy if you don't have a competent, educated workforce.
Speaking of the workforce, Mr. Robinson supported the reform of the public sector compensation system. He also wants the Finance Ministry to review the long-standing issue of public sector workers doing permanent jobs on fixed-term contracts.
Many of which are abusive and exploitative. Contract work, that's what I'm talking about. Why deny these workers the chance to earn a pension after years of loyal service?
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
And the finance spokesman Julian Robinson is urging the government to increase penalties for predial larceny.
I'm calling on the government, Minister, to amend the current fines under the Agricultural Produce Act to move it from $250,000 to $5 million. The players in the industry have been calling for that. And also for this act to be brought under the Proceeds of Crime Act and to treat payday larceny as organized crime.
Requested an update on the PC banks, which were originally designed to provide funding to farmers. We head to our first break now, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. 2 years after Jamaica's first COVID-19 case, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton believes the sector is now stronger because of the pandemic. During his presentation in Parliament on Thursday afternoon, Dr. Tufton suggested that, based on the numbers, the pandemic seems to have passed its worst. He says over the past 2 years, the sector saw significant increases in financial allocations, which have helped achieve some goals more quickly. These include new wards at the St. Joseph and Falmouth hospitals, which will provide more space after COVID.
Mobilize field hospitals and the infrastructure that have been put in place at the University Hospital of the West Indies, Spanish Town, Maypen, Sablamar hospitals will serve as well-needed overflow areas and be part of our contingency plans in case of disasters in the future. Madam Speaker, we are coming out of COVID. Let me knock wood here because there are still monitoring that is required, as a much stronger health system, certainly as it relates to infrastructure than we went in 2 years ago.
Dr. Tufton says there were also significant improvements in jobs.
30 new posts for medical officers and over 1,400 posts for community health aides. And these are not, in most cases, contract workers, certainly as it relates to the doctors. We have established these posts, and it means an expansion of personnel in our health system.
Now, lauding healthcare workers, he said locally the average COVID death rate is 2.2%, which is below the global death rate of 4.2%. However, with over 700 nurses migrating for better paying jobs overseas for the period, he again appealed for corrective measures to be explored to address the fallout. Despite a decline in COVID-19 cases, a public health expert is making another appeal for Jamaicans who are not yet vaccinated against the virus to do so now.
I do believe that there should be continued incentives for persons to be immunized. And if it is that attendance at events, sporting events, entertainment, and so on, acts as an incentive for us to get our immunization numbers high, I do believe it is worth pursuing both the incentive for persons to get immunized and also as a reward for those persons who took the step.
Speaking to TVJ News recently, Dr. Orville Nemard also said a number of unvaccinated people who previously contracted COVID believe they are immune to the virus and so they don't need the vaccine. However, he stressed that this is not the case.
What the data says is having had COVID, you now have the equivalent of having had one shot of a vaccine. So by no means is your immunization, is your immunity complete based on having had COVID-19. It's equivalent to about one vaccine, one shot of the vaccine. And as you know, we recommend 2 as a basic course and a booster for good measure.
Now to some good news for aviation. For the first time in 3 years, 2 new private pilots recently graduated from the only certified flight training school in Jamaica. Codian Barrett has their story.
For years, anyone in Jamaica who wanted to become a pilot would have to venture outside the island for certified training. But this month, Jamaica is seeing new possibilities and accomplishments from 2 young men. Jeremy Renford and Zachary Studridge have recently graduated from the Aeronautical School of the West Indies as certified private pilots.
To reach the airline level, There are several licenses, ratings, hours, and experiences you have to endure. But since I've passed the first stage, I know I'm on the right track. And with time, with the effort, I know I'll just reach there.
It's a bit overwhelming, but I'm happy to just have gotten to this point. It's been a journey. It's been from years back. I've always dreamed about being a pilot, and I just still can't believe that I'm here now.
A private pilot license allows one to fly an aircraft under their command for recreational or personal use. The last time such certificate was issued in Jamaica was in 2018. And after completing 6 months of ground school and flight training, 17-year-old Zachary is one step closer to his dreams of becoming a commercial pilot.
I plan on doing my building up hours, do my instrument rating, then one day my multi-engine, a commercial, and then one day I'll reach the airline.
One of the instructors, Sheldon Irons, says this is the first step in any pilot's career, and he's happy to see his students grow.
The most interesting part, well, especially for me as an instructor, is when you send them solo and you find that they found their way to where you sent them to, and they came back with the airplane in one piece.
The man responsible for the certified flight training school is Christopher Gooding. He says his aim is to rebuild Jamaica's aviation industry.
The small step they have taken today with the school in getting a private pilot license, not only small in their lives, but in our lives, would also mean a greater thing. The larger picture to come, the larger thing to happen is getting them certified with instrument rating and commercial rating. Having the school be in a position to train people, train more Jamaicans to achieve this certification here in Jamaica.
Cody-Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
News in the economy. Future energy source company FESCO is getting a $1 billion boost in capital through a 5-year bond facility. The facility is listed on the private market on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, with NCB Capital Markets acting as lead arranger. FESCO says the funds will be used for general corporate purposes to include the expansion of its dealership network and service station footprint. The funds will also help the company delve into the consumer cooking gas (LPG) market, which it plans to do by April 2023. News overseas. Price increases in the U.S. continued to surge last month, pushing the annual inflation rate up 7.9%. That is the biggest year-on-year leap since 1982 and up from a 7.5% rate recorded in January. Rising cost for energy, food, and shelter drove the gains, which are squeezing household incomes. The Federal Reserve, the U.S. Central Bank, is widely expected to raise interest rates at its meeting this month. And coming up in the Business Review this Sunday, a decorative concrete company that is offering an alternative option for interior and exterior finishes. And that's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody-Ann Barrett.
We go now to Sandy Williams for the top regional and international stories.
In regional news, the Bermuda Red Cross says an appeal for help for Ukrainians whose homeland has been invaded by Russia has already passed its $100,000 target. The charity's executive director, Ann Spencer R. Scott, said donations have so far totaled $130,000. There are about 50 Ukrainian nationals in Bermuda. The charity launched its appeal for donations last month as the conflict across Ukraine deepened after Russia's invasion. On the international scene, Friday morning saw deadly explosions in the Ukrainian cities of Dnipro and Lutsk as Russia widens its arc across Ukraine. Ukraine believes it's more evidence that Russia is either targeting civilians or just doesn't care who they kill. Ukraine's emergency service says the Russian strikes on Dnipro hit near a preschool, an apartment building, and a shoe factory. At least one person was killed. And the mayor of Lutsk, near the border with Poland, says there was another death after 3 missiles hit an airfield. Authorities say alert systems there and further south did not work. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we take another break here on the Midday News, but Simon Preston is standing by with your Midday Sports report when we return.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. The West Indies only added 2 runs to their overnight score of 373 for 9 to be bowled out for 375 by England on day 4 of the first test in Antigua. This is a lead of 64 runs. Jayden Seales was the last wicket to fall for a duck, while Veerasamy Permaul was left unbeaten on 26. At sports time, England had reached 77 for 1, a lead of 13 runs. Scores in the match so far: England 311 and 77 for 1, and the West Indies 375. Now, the West Indies women will be searching for their 3rd win from as many games at the Women's Cricket World Cup as they face India in Hamilton this evening. 2 wins from as many games has taken the Caribbean side into the top 4 of the table. Another 3 victories from their remaining 5 games would be enough for them to secure their first World Cup semi-final appearance since 2013. But according to fast bowler Shakira Selman, she says the team is staying grounded and expects a difficult test against the Indians.
So we're really excited as a team. But we're not getting carried away. We know that we're going to have to keep fighting. It is going to get harder. Coaches have reminded us that we came into this World Cup pretty much under the radar. No teams are going to be focusing on us, so we know it's going to get tougher.
The Caribbean side have lost all 6 of their meetings with India in World Cup history, but the 32-year-old Selman says the Windies are ready for the next test.
Yeah, we obviously have discussed it as a team. We saw they've changed from Shafali Verma to Yasika Bhatia at the top. We have no idea what they'll bring tomorrow, but we're prepared for whatever they throw at us. We have been doing well with the ball. Like we said, we're just going to focus on our strengths and hopefully, in turn, that we will be able to exploit their weaknesses.
A win for the West Indies would take them to the top of the table and to 6 points. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Krista, it's over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Krista Campbell. Join us again at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.